Hi everybody, Jim from County Corvette here. I have a special car that we're going to talk about. This is a 1969 GTX Hemi convertible, and this is a real deal car. Now, you're probably looking at the pictures and you're watching this right now, and it looks like a driver with these wheels and tires. We had a huge internal debate here, and I want everybody to comment and tell me I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't want to put the tires on here because they're just regular Brand X Eagles, whatever, with, I think, Keystone. I don't even know if these are factory wheels. I don't believe they are. Or the authentic original dog dish wheel covers and painted wheels with the red lines. That's how I wanted to show the car, but in this car, this is not a driver. This is a concourse level show car. So I want to get that out of the way because we just had a big argument over it. Now it looks better obviously with these, but when we show a blue chip car like this, I like to show it in its, correct, authentic form, and that should have the bias ply tires. Just my opinion, and that's what this car is. This is a blue chip concourse collector level car. So I'll give you the history on it after I just tell you what it is. This car was bought new in Canada. It's a Canadian car. It was bought by a woman whose husband actually owned a Dodge store. And I know this because we had this car at the Chrysler Nationals in Carlisle. And Renee, this guy named Renee, older fellow, is probably eight or so years ago, walked up to the car and said, "I know the car." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." So he went on to tell me he knew the woman, he knew the guy, the dealer, and he was a used car dealer, and he actually ended up with the car and somehow brokered it, and it went to somewhere in the Midwest of the USA here, and a gentleman by the name of Nick Sattenstein, who was a Mack tool rep, he had bought the car, and that was in the mid '90s. I remember I was a mechanic back then, and he was telling me about the car. He was so excited, and there's documentation on it. It was actually in a magazine. But he bought the car that way, and in its form from Canada. It had been repainted, but was really a correct, authentic car. It's an original numbers matching driveline in the car, trim tags. Dave Wise has inspected this car. I restored the car. So anyway, Nick sadly passed away, and the car was at a dealership here in Westchester, whom I was friends with. And I was working out with my good friend who's a big car collector, and he was saying, "Yeah, I'd like to get into some Mopars." And I said, "Well, I don't really know those cars." And he says, "Yeah, I like that, that 6870 GTX. I said, I know where there is one for sale." And he ended up buying the car, and then, we restored it with the help of Dave Wise and some guidance there, because we're not Mopar guys. I have one tech who's very competent as a Chrysler technician. He actually worked in the Chrysler store back in the day. Long story short, it's done right. It was a no expense spared car. To the extent that it's original sheet metal, with the exception of the quarters, because they all rot out right at the bottom here, just because it's convertible. But it didn't have significant rust otherwise. But the way we join the quarter panels, it still retains the correct numbers on the production number of the panel in the channel. Dave was pretty blown away how we did it. You really can't even tell it's got quarters, but of course, we probably have, 1,000 pictures of the restoration, and you can obviously see what we did. But we also did it in a way that, it's concourse, so it's better. The gaps are better. The doors open and close. We did the body on this thing where there's one finger there. Try that with another one. We did it in a way that, the suspension was in it and it was sprung when we did that. So we really fit it all together, correctly there. And on a lot of these cars, you really have to put some effort into closing the doors. It's how they were new. So this thing was done, like I said, I think eight or so years ago, we restored it. It looks fresh. It's not been on the street you know, we'll take it out from time to time, you know, just to exercise it, really just around the building. I'm not even going to put the car on the street. It's too valuable. I don't want to deal with, you know, the people around here. You know, it's too special of a car. And, but it does run correctly. The engine was properly rebuilt, and we had Dave inspected again after the restoration. So I think, you know, I'm not a Mopar specialist, so, you know, when it comes to non-Corvettes, I'm going to seek out the top guys in that mark, and Dave is the top guy. Great guy, great fella too, by the way. If you've ever, you know, if you ever need, you know, help with a, you know, a high dollar Mopar, he's the guy. Okay, so getting back to this thing, it is an automatic car. I don't know if I mentioned that. Power top. You know, everything again has been gone through in this car. We actually, at the time of the restoration, we couldn't get a heater core. That was a little sketchy. We had since found one, so that's been replaced. And this car's properly maintained. There's no problems with it. That's one thing I'll say about this fella, my friend who's a collector. It's actually still his car. You know, he and I are involved in some things personally, you know, with some cars, and he's decided to sell this one. But we've maintained it for his collection. It actually resides here in this building with some of his other cars. And, you know, he's, yeah, I ran out of space. This is what happened. So he's got some real high-level blue-chip Mopars. Only bought cars under, you know, with my help, you know, with the premise of authenticity and documentation. That's all, you know, that's all we buy now. This thing had the protective plate. They call it something else, but that's what they call it with GM. But the warranty booklet, it had it. I have a photograph of it. The prior dealer I was talking about somehow lost it, and you know, it sucks, but that is the reality of it. But it's you know, it is a really well documented, or excuse me, well authenticated car, and there's just no questions about it. I mean, it's known in the hobby, and this thing's, you know, I'd like to say it's the best one out there, but I don't want to, you know, belittle anybody who's got a great one. But it's surely, what I can say is it's the best job I know how to do on a restoration, and you know, pretty good at it. So, you know, with all that said, this car belongs in a collection. This is not a car, you know, this is not a $100,000 or, you know, $80,000 car. This is a high level concours restored car, and you know, belongs in the proper collection there. So for you Mopar guys out there, I hope you enjoy you know, this auction, and you know, this car, you know, gets what it deserves. But rest assured, this car doesn't need anything. Okay, we've, you know, switches, everything works as it should, and I'll personally ensure that, you know, when, you know, for the next buyer, because stuff does go wrong, but we've made every effort to make this car as right as I know how to make a car. All right, so we're going to go around the building in it, get a little feel for it. I don't really like driving this car because I'm not the biggest guy. I'm only, I don't know how big I look on video, but I'm only 5'7", and I can't see out of the thing. So that's another reason I want to take it out on the road. It's just, it's made for a big guy. So if you're like 6'6", you'd probably love this car. But, you know, at my height and my size, I don't particularly care for driving it. But we're going to go around the building for you, and you know, just give you a sense of how well it runs. All right, so let's do it. All right, so there is an aftermarket oil pressure gauge on here. That's just basic common sense with a, you know, an original Hemi engine. In the, you know, in the event that this thing somehow lost oil pressure, we would want to know it before, you know, the idiot light comes on. And obviously it's got perfect oil pressure. It's a cool car, but I'm not big enough for it. I don't know who the hell, and they say a like I said, this guy Renee told us this woman bought it, and she would throw her skis in there and, you know, drive it up the mountain. I swear to God, that's what he told me. I don't know why he would make that up, but she must have been a pretty big girl, because, you know, again, I'm not a midget, but, you know, at my height, I just don't feel comfortable driving this thing. So, cool caddy, almost the same color. I think this is T5 bronze. Now this is done in base coat, clear coat, and is obviously better than, you know, the single stage enamel that Chrysler was putting on cars at the time. But this was not an inexpensive restoration. It exceeded $200,000 at the time, and it was all there. It was just, you know, making this car concourse level. It's not an easy task. But I'm not going to, obviously you can see there's a lot of cars around here and people, so I'm not going to come, you know, flying around here and put anybody's safety in jeopardy, or hurt the car. I don't want to hurt the car. We'll do another lap around the building here, and I'll just give you a sense of it. But the car really does run right, and actually I can feel the radial tires on it, the difference. You know, just in driving around the building, the bias plies are bad. But anyway, I'll enjoy to hear the comments on this one regarding the wheels and tires, and you know, people making fun of the fact that I can barely see over the dash in this thing. If you're short like me, don't buy this car, unless you're just a, you know, collector, and you're going to park it, because you're not going to have fun driving it. If you're under 5'9", 5'10", forget about it. I don't know why that is. You see, seats are just, they look normal, but I don't know, strange. It's quiet too. It doesn't have a lot of squeaks and rattles, which is, you know, pretty unusual for one of these bodies. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it doesn't make any noise. It's, you know, it's a unibody structure, and they do they do squeak and rattle a little bit. But this one's pretty good. It's got a lot of nice, you know, nice fit and finish on it. And you know, like I said, we did our very best at making this car as nice as we know how to make the car, and you'll be happy with the quality. But it's, you know, these Hemis and these cars are you know, not real heavily cammed. They're not tuned for performance and such, you know, with an open exhaust. Yeah, you can get them to run, but this thing's pretty docile. Starts and runs well. As with any of these older engines, you know, you want to let it warm up. But we're up to temp now, and anyway, that's it. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to the feedback. Thanks for watching, and good luck with the auction.